Hey, my name is Reverend Rebekah Simon-Peter, and I lead a group coaching program called Creating a Culture of Renewal. We've empowered thousands of people since 2011 to transform overly cautious congregations into churches with engaged Christians who are willing to make a real difference, who instead of sitting on the sidelines playing it safe, dare to step out in faith. In this 25-minute video, I'm going to share with you exactly what keeps a church stuck in decline, and then I'm going to show you how to break the cycle, move into renewal, and thrive. Welcome to how Christian ministries are achieving success. So let's talk. Why are churches struggling? I mean, we follow Jesus. What's the problem? Why are we struggling spiritually and missionally and financially? Is it faith? Is it strategy? Is the problem the larger society? Through working with thousands of church leaders in a wide variety of denominations, I found that it's a culture problem. Not a faith problem, not a strategy problem, not even a problem of the larger society. It's culture, church culture to be exact. So let's take a look at the 7 R's of a church culture in decline. The first R of a church culture in decline is reluctance. Good idea, but you do it. I like it, I just don't want to be the one. The second R of a church culture in decline is resistance. Yes, we want kids. Oh, we have to change? Maybe a lot? Okay, never mind. The third R of a church culture in decline is reactivity. That's reacting to old buildings, to budgets, and to burials, doing what's immediately needed, but never moving beyond that to venture out into deeper ministry. The fourth R of a church culture in decline is irrelevance. Not talking about what's happening in the world today, not reaching the people in your very neighborhood, not praying for the young people you say you want. The fifth R of a church culture in decline is resignation. Well, we already tried that, and that doesn't work around here. Usually what's meant is somebody had a great idea, got a little bit of buy-in, tried, failed, and the idea dropped, and people were left disappointed. That turns into resignation. The sixth R of a church culture in decline is regret, not getting over the past. I was called back to a previous church I served to officiate at a funeral. Many people came through the line, including people from out of town. One guy wanted to tell me all about what was going on at his church back home and told me story after story. And I finally said, "When did all this happen?" "Oh, 20 years ago," he said. 20 years? I thought, buddy, get over it. But that's regret. You don't get over it. It just sticks around and poisons the future. The seventh R of a church culture in decline is racism. We just want people like us, not people like them. If you listen closely, though, you realize any ism could be replaced. Perhaps it's classism. Maybe it's about gender or human sexuality. Maybe it's country of origin or language. Or maybe it's education or frequency between showers. Anytime we're in the ism, we have placed ourselves outside the kingdom of God, because in the kingdom, it's beloved community, and all are welcome. So how many of these 7 R's of church culture in decline are you dealing with? 2, 4, all 7? If you've got 2 or more of these 7 R's, your church is slipping down into the pool of decline that can be harder and harder to get out of. So why don't we just change this? I mean, why don't we just get in there and fire people up with faith and break through the culture of decline? Well, here's the problem. Culture is self-reinforcing. And frankly, that's not even the whole problem, because in addition to these 7 R's of a church culture in decline, there are 3 stubborn barriers to renewal that reinforce the culture of decline. I think of the 7 R's and the 3 stubborn barriers like this. The 7 R's are a medieval castle built of stone, and then the 3 stubborn barriers are like the moat around the castle. You can't hardly get into that castle to address the issues of culture. The first stubborn barrier is personalities. That's where you feel like you or others have to spend time soothing people, making sure folks don't get too mad and the big givers don't leave and harmony isn't ruptured. The only trouble with that is it can be very hard to be a change maker, to introduce risk, or to be prophetic in that kind of setting. It's a stubborn barrier to renewal. The second stubborn barrier is a focus on the past. That's when you're doing ministry by looking in the rearview mirror. The only trouble with looking in the rearview mirror is you can see perfectly where you've been, but you cannot see where you're going. Church cultures that are in decline tend to specialize in attracting and keeping people who are very steady and very conscientious. That means harmony becomes a top value. And these kinds of folks tend to look to the past as a template for the future. We used to want to go back to 1990s, then the 2010s. Now we'd settle for 2019. The only trouble is 2019 doesn't exist anymore. We have to look into the future to be drawn to the places God is calling us to go. The third stubborn barrier to renewal is a focus on predictability. You'll know you're in the zone of predictability if you or others use the word probably a lot, like this. We could probably afford this. We probably have enough people. We could probably push things far enough to get that done. We probably have the energy to do this. Now, churches choose the predictable because they want to minimize disappointment and to minimize further loss. But Jesus did not content himself with the predictable. He was about the unpredictable, the miraculous. So once churches insist on the predictable, they've separated themselves from the realm of the miraculous, where Jesus calls us to co-create miracles with him. And that's the most anti-gospel thing of all, to be stuck in the predictable. So how do you solve this? What's a leader to do? Well, friend, you need some breakthroughs. So let me introduce you to 3 breakthroughs to renewal that are well within reach. The first breakthrough that every church deserves is breaking through the barrier of personalities. You do this by applying the platinum rule, a variation of the golden rule. Instead of treating people the way you want to be treated, you learn to treat others in a way that they feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel respected. Even when you disagree or don't see eye to eye, then you don't have to worry about keeping the peace or soothing people, because everybody just starts getting along better as you learn how to bring out the best contributions of each of your people and create happier relationships. When you know how to apply the platinum rule, it's like having the keys to the kingdom or the secret decoder ring. This leads to the first breakthrough result. You'll get an immediate shift in group culture. Instead of reluctance and reactivity, tiptoeing around personalities, and doing ministry by the lowest common denominator, you learn how to bring out the best in those who frustrate you the most. I once worked with a choir director who intuitively felt the music and an organist who followed exact timings. These two had so practiced the golden rule, expecting the other to approach the music as they did, that they actually brought the church to the verge of a church split. They got to that breaking point and didn't know how to back down. But after they learned the platinum rule and understood each other's approach to the music, everything changed. Tension reduced. There was no more fighting, and there was definitely no more talk of a church split. Instead, they had harmony and collaboration and a string of the best choir practices that they'd had in years. The second breakthrough that every church deserves is breaking through the barrier of the past. Now, the main reason that churches are stuck in the past and looking to the past as a template for the future is they've forgotten how to dream like Jesus. Big dreams, bold dreams, beautiful, life-giving dreams. Dreams that fulfill Jesus' vision. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. In talking with church leaders, lay and clergy alike, I have heard so many dreams, so much possibility that people, passionate people, long to bring to life. The second breakthrough result, then, is a shift in how ministry gets done. Because instead of resignation and fear-based decision-making, your people will embrace faith-based decision-making and look to the future as an opportunity, not as a threat. A future in which Jesus-sized dreams can be brought to life. Creating a Culture of Renewal participant, Elizabeth Smith led her congregation of 6 souls to open a food pantry and feed hungry people twice a week, week in and week out. Why? They were dreaming like Jesus. Creating a Culture of Renewal participant, Shannon Davis, with a larger congregation of about 200, led his people to raise $400,000 in collaboration with the community beyond the budget to open homes for sibling groups in foster care, so that these siblings could stay together even as their families went through tough times. Their dreams came true. Your dreams can come true as well, no matter the size of the congregation. The third breakthrough result that every church deserves is breaking through the barrier of predictability. Now, moving from the predictable to the miraculous comes when you not only dare to dream like Jesus, but actually believe like Jesus too. With this shift, you can move mountains and co-create the miraculous with God, just like Jesus did. And that is anything but predictable. And so, believing like Jesus creates that third breakthrough result for your church. A shift in congregational focus from inward and scarcity-minded to outward and abundance-minded. Instead of just church improvement plans, the church begins to focus on community and kingdom plans, and the church becomes willing to be an agent of transformation on behalf of the community it's there to serve. Now, whereas before the church might want predictability to minimize disappointment, once you start to believe like Jesus, the church finds there's an abundance of everything you need because now you are in partnership with God. Tina and Laird Cross were co-pastors who created a Culture of Renewal, and I want to tell you their story. One day, Tina said, "That's it. I'm tired of handing out $40, a sleeve of crackers, and a can of Spam and thinking we're making any kind of difference. We're not." Well, they began to apply the Platinum Rule and realized they weren't truly seeing and hearing and respecting the needs of those who showed up at the church's front door. And so they came up with a Jesus-like dream. And that was to equip God's people to thrive, not just survive, but thrive. Well, they set up interviewing skill classes, parenting classes, financial management classes. They opened up a closet for clothing where people could come to get appropriate clothing for special interviews they had to go on. As they shared this bold vision with the community and the congregation, not only did people who had been looking for assistance begin to thrive, but God began to equip the church to thrive as well. 3 stories, miracle stories, came to pass. First, a bank approached the church and said they wanted to give them money. What a miracle that was. The church said yes. They beefed up their scholarships for high school graduates, gave so many more scholarships of a great deal more money. Here they are equipping God's people to thrive in the community, and God is equipping the church itself to thrive. Secondly, one Sunday, a woman approached Tina after she finished preaching and said, "I loved your sermon, and it helped me decide I'm going to give all the proceeds of the sale of my late mother's home to the church." And indeed she did. But the miracle didn't end there. Guess who moved into that home? A family that got deeply involved with the church, with the AV ministry, with the youth group, and getting involved with the children's ministry and youth group itself. The third ministry that happened is that a charter school approached the church and said, "We notice you have a big, beautiful building, but the second floor is entirely empty." Yes, like many churches that had entered into the deep stages of decline, the second floor was no longer being used. The charter school said, "What would you think if we were to move in and fill this church with children?" What would they think indeed, except to say yes? So the more this church believed like Jesus, dreamed like Jesus, and believed like Jesus, the more miracles unfolded for them and for others. The homeless and the jobless thrived. The church experienced renewal. The people saw their faith in a whole new light. Tina and Laird Cross created a culture of renewal in their church setting. So how can you get these results in your church? Well, for Tina and Laird, and for you, the roadmap to success was and is creating a culture of renewal. Let me explain how this wonderful intensive program can work for you. First, you become a ninja at congregational intelligence. You learn how to apply the platinum rules such that trust and cohesion in the congregation grow. People work together so much better and become open to change. Second, you expand your leadership smarts by acquiring two skills. The first is the capacity and the ability to dream like Jesus and to bring others on board with that dream. And the second is to engage conflict productively, because even very good change can bring some pushback. And so equipped with productive conflict, you learn how to manage and disarm and defuse tensions such that good ideas can move forward. Third, you learn to skillfully shift the culture of the congregation. And as you and your people rise from discipleship to apostleship, you have the courage and the confidence to carry a bold and life-giving message to the communities you serve. And your congregation becomes an agent of transformation for the people around you. Well, what are the results when you engage in a process like this? First, giving increases up to 33%. It's because you're more comfortable talking about and asking for money. And conversations in the church shift from concern to passion, from why we can't to how we can. It's an amazing shift. Not only does giving increase up to 33%, but average worship attendance increases up to 78%. Worship is revitalized because the congregation and the community are reconnected. Musical quality and variety grows, openness to other generation increases, and engagement with children expands. Now, not only does giving increase up to 33% and average worship attendance increase up to 78%, but volunteerism skyrockets. It increases up to 500%. You're naturally moving people from seats to service, from pews to projects, from consumer-minded to community-minded, without having to twist arms. So that's a pretty amazing set of results. Would you agree? And that's why, through creating a culture of renewal, you are rewarded for your efforts and for your growth. 3 ways. First, 21 continuing education units. Second, a certificate of congregational renewal. And third, a credential as a certified renewalist is bestowed upon you. That certificate, that credential, says this was not a one-off miracle. This wasn't a lucky break. I now have the skills and tools to do this again. And new visions can be brought forth again and again as an ecosystem of sustainable, miraculous culture is created. Now let me tell you a little bit about why I developed this program. I had a clear call to serve the church from Jesus. I was born and raised Jewish. I wasn't thinking about Jesus in my early years, but when he came to me in a vision, it became clear I was called to serve. I pastored congregations for 12 years until I left the local church. Now, I didn't leave local church ministry because I fell out of love with Jesus or I no longer wanted to be obedient to God. I didn't even leave local church ministry because I didn't love the people. I still love Jesus, I still love God, and I still love the people. I left because I was exhausted. I couldn't figure out how to keep things going without giving every last drop of who I was, of every last drop of energy that I had. But even then, I knew deep down inside, if I did give 24/7, it still wasn't going to be enough to stave off decline. And I began to wonder, how do Christian ministries achieve success? Spiritual, missional, financial, all the stuff I've been talking to you about. Well, I found the answers and I developed this program. And honestly, it's the program I wished I'd had when I was in local church ministry. And I'd love for you to have it too. So here's the choice. Do you want to go on to the bitter ends, wrestling with those stubborn barriers, thinking this time it will be different, thinking this time you can cross the moat and storm the castle and get inside? Or do you want to take a new path, the path of the miraculous, to create real breakthroughs where that drawbridge comes down all by itself and the openings appear? So many church leaders I know long for this second path. If you're somebody who wants to see change, or somebody who wishes things were different, or somebody who wishes things were the same but knows they need to be different, let's talk. Things can shift. Renewal can come to your congregation. Your dreams don't have to go unexpressed. Your calling does not have to go unfulfilled. Your church does not have to go unnoticed. You and your people can dream like Jesus. You and your people can believe like Jesus. And you can be the leader you always dreamed you could be. Could it work for you? You may be wondering. Let's talk, my friend. Let's talk. In Jesus' name, let the church say, Amen.